The European Union is ill-prepared for the new world order. The group is missing from the meetings in Abu Dhabi this week, a meeting that's going to decide what happens in Europe's backyard. Leading the Ukrainian delegation is the Secretary of National Security Council and Zelensky's Chief of Staff. They were seen sitting on the left. At another table facing the Ukrainians was the Russian delegation, made up of military intelligence figures. And in between, the third table had the American delegation, the mediators, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and the Army Secretary. The EU is missing from the room, even though it has the biggest stakes in this trilateral after Ukraine. I mean, you look at the peace plan that is being discussed. 10 out of the 20 points involve the European Union. Specifically, point number 5, it says, and I'm quoting, the US, NATO, and the European signatory states will provide Ukraine with security guarantees that mirror Article 5. This is a reference to NATO's Article 5. There are a total of 21 articles in the bloc, and number 5 says, and I'm quoting again, an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all. In simple words, an attack on one is an attack on all. Ukraine has long tried to become a member of this defense bloc, but as discussions progress, the accession seems like a far-fetched dream. So this is the backup plan. If it can't be part of NATO, it can at least have NATO's security if Russia decides to invade again. But again, it's not as simple as that. Politico has accessed a US State Department cable which records Finland urging US officials to not promise an Article 5-like security guarantee to Ukraine. According to the cable sent from the US Embassy in Helsinki to Washington, the Finnish foreign minister called Russia a quote-unquote long-term strategic threat. And there should be a quote-unquote firewall between NATO and the security guarantees promised to Ukraine. This kind of talk wouldn't be surprising had it been coming from Russia's friend Hungary, a country that has publicly stood in the way of Ukraine's membership in NATO or even the European Union.
It would be very easy to push the entire European Union and its member states into an armed conflict if Ukraine becomes a member of the European Union.
Hungary has grounded its argument in the European Union's Article 42. The EU is not a defense organization like NATO, but it does have Article 42 that says, and I'm quoting again, if a member state is the victim of armed aggression on its territory, the other member states shall have towards it an obligation of aid and assistance by all the means in their power. Unlike NATO's Article 5, this does not talk about a direct military intervention, but the wording also makes this open to interpretation. On purpose or not, one can't say.
This article will visibly be used to transform the European Union into a military alliance and to ensure all the military support for Ukraine that must be provided to a member state in a direct armed conflict with a nuclear power.
This article has been triggered only once since the inception. After ISIS targeted Paris, killing about 130 people, France took the European Union in uncharted territory by invoking Article 42. At the time, the request was supported immediately by fellow European partners. Islamist terrorism was on the rise and it was seen as a threat by not just France, but the entire Europe. There was still a lot of confusion over the logistics. Given the European Union does not have a unified military, what more could Europe have done apart from verbal solidarity? The United Kingdom and Germany stepped up their military actions in Iraq and Syria against the Islamic State group. Others helped indirectly. They increased their participation in Sahel or the Levant, so French military resources can be redeployed elsewhere to fight ISIS. Ever since, France has been the most vocal to strengthen Article 42 of the EU Charter. In 2018, President Emmanuel Macron went to the extent of saying, and I'm quoting, Europe could no longer entrust its security to the United States alone. We have heard the same from US President Donald Trump since his return to the office last year, just in much more harsh ways.
But European Union's it was formed in order to screw the United States. I mean, look, let's be honest. The European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. That's the purpose of it. And they've done a good job of it, but now I'm president.
In the middle of threats from the East and West, Europe led a record international rise in defense spending in 2024. And if we talk about over the course of the years, from 2021 to last year, that's 2025, defense spending grew over 31%. So then what is Europe scared about? This map has the answer for you. 23 out of the 27 European Union member states are also members of NATO, barring 4 countries: Austria, whose constitution does not allow it to join a military alliance; Cyprus, which isn't even part of mainland Europe; Ireland, which has taken a neutrality oath, as sketchy as it is; and lastly Malta, a neutral country in the Mediterranean Sea. Even if NATO shuts its doors to Ukraine, the EU cannot risk providing guaranteed military help to the war-torn country, because if it does, NATO's Article 5 will be triggered one way or the other. And that proves Hungary's point.
It seems that the political elite is preparing for the decision that this war is inevitable. Moreover, they will say that this war is morally right, just as we heard before World War I. Such rhetoric that this is a righteous, a good war, that it will be the last war, which will end all wars, because it is a morally right war. But in a war, it's not about good versus evil. A war decides one thing: who stays alive and who dies. And I believe that people should choose life, not war.
The European Union is having to cope with an emergency landing for Ukraine, all the while avoiding a crash landing of its own. Even a country like Finland understands this, who has been a vocal supporter of Kyiv throughout the war.
There's nothing that unifies Europe more than pressure, and now that pressure is coming from both the East and the West. And this means that European Union enlargement has become strategic and existential rather than legalistic and juridical.
So there is no doubt that Russia has single-handedly threatened Europe's security in the worst way possible since World War II. But Europe's incompetence over decades has also come back to haunt it, be that inviting ex-Soviet states into NATO, or outsourcing its security to the United States, or ignoring the growing militant nationalism in Ukraine, or failing to keep up with the world order changing.
If anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't.
Don't get us wrong, we are not saying that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was EU's fault. But should it have seen it coming? That's the debate. Today, when it has a chance to wrap up the war in Ukraine and put forward its own terms for the future, it cannot keep them as ambiguous as Article 42. It needs to ask itself, can it really provide security guarantees to Ukraine when it is struggling to provide security to its own? And this is not ISIS, this is Russia, a state actor with a standing military, nuclear weapons, and a track record of returning to unfinished wars. I'm Ananya Datta. Thanks for watching.